as a PT, part of my job is to motivate people to move more, go to the gym, eat a little bit better, cut out a little bit of the junk, right? Simply be more active. Because again, the majority simply aren't doing that. However, there's a small minority that are taking that idea and running into the fucking wind with it. Just doing way too much. Like, I'm being deadly serious. I'm talking multiple classes back to back. Then going on long endurance runs, or doing super heavy lifting sessions in the morning, and then coming back in the evening and doing them same muscle groups again. Way too much. And again, I'm not trying to demotivate you, because if you're that driven and you're that motivated, that's fantastic. However, we just need to rein it in a little bit. I'm going to explain why. Do you know how many times I train a day? Probably once, if that's even a training day. I then leave it and go and recover. Kind of like putting a hammer and nail in. If I wanted this nail into the wall, it would look like this. Right, job's done. Gonna go put the kettle on, put my feet up, call it a day. But this is what you're doing. Now let's fucking go again. Does that make sense? No. I mean, you're smashing it, quite literally, but it's too much. But I'm gonna delve a little bit deeper. Let me give you a little short lesson on physiology. We have two nervous systems. You have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic system is like fight or flight. For example, when we train, when we have stimulants through caffeine, when we're in highly stressful situations, that's your fight or flight. Kind of like, ever kind of leant back on the chair too far, and then you get that kind of sudden feeling, you get that rush of adrenaline. That's your sympathetic nervous system. On the other side, you have your parasympathetic, and this is your rest and digest. So this is eating, digestion, sleeping, just recovering, yeah, relaxing. Think of it like parachute coming down. You're kind of switching off. In the modern Western world, our ratios are way out of whack. We are overstimulated with stressful jobs, very little sleep, consuming way too many stimulants, and also being overstimulated by stressful news, whether it's terrorist attacks or Brexit. Either way, there's just so much stress going on. As great as training is, it is still recognised by the body as stress. So your central nervous system, when being taxed through heavy lifts, fast sprints, whatever your training method is, it is still perceived as the body as stress. We're just adding to this sympathetic nervous system. And what we're not doing enough of is parasympathetic. You're not resting. And like I said, if you're coming back in multiple times a day, or you're doing runs, you're lifting, you're doing Pilates, like you're just doing way too much, your parasympathetic is becoming minute, your sympathetic nervous system is being simply overloaded. And this will lead to either two things. One, you're either going to end up injured, or two, you're simply just going to burn yourself out because you can't maintain that level of stimulus. Either way, in the long term, you're not going to get to your goal. Think of it like this. Apart from the hammer analogy, think of a Formula 1 car. Does one fast lap around the track, then what does it do? Goes into the garage, rests, new tyres, all that kind of jazz. It doesn't fucking keep going round, does it? And fully aware, you're not a Formula 1 car. As much as you might call yourself a machine, you're not. You're human. You need to rest. And another little physiological lesson. If you're someone who uses weight, as in scale weight, as a metric for weight loss or fat loss, when you're overly stressed, as you are in this situation, guess what happens? Cortisol levels rise. Now when cortisol is elevated, we retain water, yeah? But guess what? You're doing all this training, you step on the scale, you're that stressed, you're maintaining water weight, so you're like, fuck! I've trained all week for this. So, what you go and do? You go and hammer that nail in again. And again, you're going down that path. You're either going to end up injured or overtrained, and you're going to burn out. Now, in my professional, humble opinion, you only need 3 to 4 training sessions a week. You can go hard, have a rest day. Guess what happens when you come back after being fully recovered? You're probably going to get PBs. However, if you're going in the gym, breaking down, having a couple of hours rest, and coming back in again, you're not recovering. And let me just bear in mind, the way we get stronger and recover is through rest. When you're in the gym, you're tearing down muscle fibers. You're not building muscle. You tear it down. That's why you get that delayed onset muscle soreness the next day. Now you need to be in this section, parasympathetic, to get that recovery. However, you're just fucking doing this. And look, I get it. It's easy to look at these athletes online, on the news, in the magazines, who are training, fair enough, multiple times a day. Guess what? That's their job. What they don't have, and what they don't carry like you, is the same stressful situations. They don't then go into a 9 to 5 job. You don't have Karen in the office talking shit about you behind your back. A lot of them are very dedicated and don't have kids. Once they've trained, the rest of their day goes to recovery. They have advanced recovery methods, hot-cold exposures. They have private physios, private nutritionists. However, You don't have that. Like I said before, training is still perceived as stress on the body. So you have all this overstimulation, work stressing you out, kids are stressing you out, you have this stress. What do? You go in the gym and put more stress on the body. Again, you're not entering the Olympics anytime soon. Have a rest day. It will be so much more beneficial than doing an extra training session. More isn't always better.